everybody. Today I'm looking out my backyard and I'm looking at all the leaves. And some people are going to think, oh my gosh, it looks like a lot of work. I look at them and I see a potential for a lot of free gardening material. Hello, my name is Kathy and welcome to my channel. And today we're going to talk about these leaves. The leaves that fall from the tree contain 20 to 80% of the nutrients that the tree pulls up during this summer. They're very rich in calcium, magnesium, phosphate, and potassium. The best thing to do is to get them as soon as you can while they're still dry. Because the longer they set and the wetter they get, they decompose and they lose the nitrogen, the minerals into the ground they're in. So how can I use these? We can use them as mulch, leaf mulch, right now around your trees, around your roses and your shrubs. And we can use them as leaf compost or leaf mold. But you can't use them like this. You have to work them up. You have to do a few things. First of all, you need to rake them into a pile. You can rake them into the pile. You can either use a old-fashioned rake or a blow leaf blower. The main thing is to get them in your pile, and then you have to shred them. And I'm going to be shredding mine over there with that noisy contraction, and I will get started and be right back with you. Okay, last year I didn't have the leaf shredder, and I made my leaf mulch without shredding it. And then you see the leaves did not break down as well as they should have. So if you don't have a shredder, mulcher, or whatever you want to call it, you could run over your piles a few times with the lawnmower and collect the shredded leaves that way. Or send your kids out to stomp on them while they're dry until they break them all up. You can even use a string trimmer to help get the leaves broken up. But I like mine. Now, there's a few things I don't like about it, and that is it's got such a small little opening here at the top to feed the leaves through. So you can only get a few through here at a time. You have to push it down like this until you get, and they have to be dry. If they're wet, they just clog up the machine. So what you need to do is get it. I like to get some in it before I turn it on, just to kind of prime it and get it ready. Like I said, if I had researched this more, I would have gotten one with a bigger hoe at the top to put these leaves in, and it would have gone a lot faster. You just flip it on. One thing that this does is, remember this was completely full of leaves, it reduces the volume immensely. So you don't have to have as much space to store this during the winter until you can use it next spring if you decide to go that route. So I am going to go ahead and finish shredding up that pile of leaves and that pile of leaves, and then I'll be back to show you what the plan is, how to use them today. Alright, the first thing I'm going to make is going to be the leaf compost using the manure. Now to use my chicken manure, what I do is I use 5 buckets of leaves, shredded leaves, to 1 bucket of aged chicken manure. And this has been collected since this time last year. What you basically do, put a layer of the leaves, add some of the manure, about all 1/4 of it. My husband decided to use the lawnmower and the mulcher, so he shredded some leaves for me quicker than what I could. A bit dustier, but they'll work. Just keep layering that. Should have a dust mask on until you get 5 of these to 1 of those. And the reason I'm doing this first is because I like to let my manure compost age for a whole year before I use it. This will be used next time this year on the garden. Last year I made it and I had enough for 6 beds. So hopefully I'll get 6 beds out of this one as well. It doesn't really have to be stirred or mixed. Do add a little bit of water to it just to make it damp like a sponge. Cover it, and I try to get out here and stir it maybe once a month, but it doesn't have to be. This is good for nutrition to put into. What I'll do is I put it on top of the soil that's out there, and then I'll add a layer of shredded leaves on top of that, and then I'll add the regular compost, which I make from the table scraps, the grass, straw, weeds, and the shredded leaves I have left over. I'll put that on top. That, without the manure, I use all year round. But the manure one I only use in the fall. Like I said, I want it to age a whole year first. So that's how I make my manure leaf compost. Another way to use the shredded leaves is after you put on the leaf manure compost, then you top it off with your shredded leaves. What you're trying to do is improve the drainage of your soil and lighten it up a little bit, especially if it's clay. And this is, like I said earlier, it will also feed your earthworms and your microorganisms in the dirt. Now what I'll do after I get through this, I'll top it off with a little bit of organic fertilizer using the directions on the box or the bag, whatever bag you use. And then I'll top it off with my regular compost. The thing is, what you're trying to do is bring your beds back up to the level that's even with the top. So I'll put this on, put the fertilizer on, put the compost on, and then I'll top the whole thing off with some straw. And then I'll leave it set all winter, and next spring, all I have to do is make my rows or my little hose and put my plants in, and they'll be ready to go. So that's the second way I use the shredded leaves. Okay, the third way that I use my leaves is by storing them in this plastic bin all winter long as shredded leaves, and they will turn into leaf mold. And this is good to put over your plants once they come up and use as a mulch throughout the year. So fill that up with shredded leaves and don't have to water or anything. It'll get its own natural water from the ground and from the sides here that are open. So you just kind of leave it and forget it until you need it next summer. Okay, the fourth way I like to use the shredded leaves is around the blackberries, the trees, the roses, and your shrubs. You put this down, and this is where you go thick. You go about 6 inches deep in this area. This insulates the blackberry canes and the other plants for the winter from the weather. It also keeps the weeds down. Alright. Okay, the fifth way I like to use the shredded leaves is just to dump it in my compost pile. For the compost, you can add grass, kitchen vegetables, weeds that haven't gone to seed, anything that is not, actually almost anything, but depends on where you live and whether you want it to smell or not. You might want to stay away from meat products and dairy products because those will attract animals and smell a little. So that's the way I use my shredded leaves. And although I've got a whole bunch of shredded leaves, I still don't have enough shredded leaves to do everything I want to do. I would love to go around every one of those little trees with a bunch of leaves. But I make do with what God gives me. And I thank Him every day for blessed life and for the blessed boundary of the garden and the people around me. And so I hope you have a good October. And remember, dream big. Bye.